Hey, welcome back to Just Greg. I'm Greg. The other half of the bar is open with Beth and Greg. And if you don't know what that is, then you can go out and check it out. It's on this channel where you're watching this. Go out, like, subscribe, do all those things. We're out on iTunes and Spotify and all those good things. But today I wanted to get into a fun thing. It's getting into buying your dream car or just buying a car in general. I've got some stories to tell about that. Again, go out, do the like, subscribe, hit the thumbs up, do all those things if you don't mind. Get that out of the way. That's the blah, blah, blah stuff. Everybody says that stuff, right? So, my wife went out and bought a car last weekend. She got the itch. My wife gets the generally the 3-year itch. Seems ridiculous, but it's a long-standing thing that's held true over the years. And this last car she had lasted about 4.5 years, which is great for our household, for Beth. And, you know, she was eyeballing a new car. She'd had hers for a while. She works from home. So, you know, it's one of those things where it doesn't get a lot of mileage on it, and you end up getting pretty good resale on a car if it doesn't have a lot of mileage, right? So everybody knows those sorts of things. But what it got me thinking was, how do you all do the car thing, right? Are you type that hangs on to them forever, like drives them into the ground? Or are you type of person that, and this isn't a dude thing. This is man, woman, doesn't matter, whatever, right? Do you tend to go with like a domestic or, a foreign made type of car? Like, what are your types of things? Leave some notes in the comments if you don't mind. I'm really curious about this because this is something that Beth and I have always kind of gone back and forth on, and it's fun. It's good, fun banter. Cars have gotten significantly more expensive over the past 5 years, maybe 6 years, something like that. Maybe a little longer. I don't know. But I remember back in the day, and I'm going to walk you down a little memory lane for me. Cars weren't that expensive. They just weren't. And were they made better? Maybe. I think it's all the technology and shit that's in cars nowadays that just, it makes it a little crazy. So, what do you guys do? The other thing is, if you hit it big out on that Trump coin, right? Like Dave Portnoy, he just dropped, I think, a fucking $1 million bet out on the Buffalo Bills to win the Super Bowl, which will make him like 6.5. So he bet 500. This is a completely aside. He bet 500 grand, or not bet. I guess it's kind of the same thing. He put 500 grand down on that, Trump meme coin, made 1.5. So he made $1 million, turned that fucking million and dropped it on Buffalo Bills to win the Super Bowl. I don't know what that bet's like, but it says he could be paid off 6.5. That's insanity to me. I don't know. But if you made that, what's your dream car? All right. You've got your dream car, and now what's reality cars? I've had a lot of reality cars in my life. I wrote some notes down here. The cars I've had. I've had a Volkswagen Scirocco, which was my first vehicle. Let me show you this right here. I had one of these. I don't even know what year it was. Maybe in 86 or something like that. So this would have been like in 94, something like that. I don't know. But my mom bought me that car for like $1,700. It was worth about $100. Back before I knew anything about cars. Like, even to bring it and get it checked out, we bought it at this used car place up in Salisbury or Seabrook, New Hampshire. I saw it. I loved it. Thought it was rad. It was a cool little car until I was driving it to work one day and the steering linkage completely broke. And when I would turn the steering wheel, the car just kept going straight. Well, it veered to the left slightly. So I was able to pull off the road. That's neither here nor there. Sold that. Got the next vehicle I got was an 88 Jeep Comanche. And if you're not familiar with these, they haven't made, dude, if they brought these back, holy shit, they could do some stuff with these, right? This is an 88 Jeep Comanche right here. Mine looked almost exactly like that right there. Like that right there. It was awesome. Two-wheel drive, used to throw sandbags in the back. I lived in New Hampshire. It was cold as shit, snowing all the time. But it was just like that. I could throw 2-3 friends. It was a standard, straight 6. Thing was tight, dude. Another little backstory on this one. We used to go out in the woods with this, bring beers, bring friends, whatever, go hang out in the woods. Like, teenagers do. Bonfires, all of that. And I sold it before I moved to Arizona. So this would be like, shit, that was 97. I think I sold it in 97 and I moved to Arizona. About 8 years later, no, more recently, or I guess closer to that, my brother bought it, wrecked it, had an accident, whatever, wrecked it, sold it. And then he didn't wreck it, right? You know what I mean? But it was in an accident, sold it. And the place he sold it to repaired it. About 8 years after that, I was at a gas station in Hampton, New Hampshire, and one of my old friends had bought that truck. And I could tell because there were 2 dents in the bumpers that I had put there years before. Because that steel bumper, I backed into basically like a, back in the day, or I guess still today, they plow, and it turns into like a block of ice. Well, in my driveway, I backed into the same block of snow twice. Had a new front end, had all been redone and everything. It was still in rough shape, but it still was driving. That truck was amazing. I love that truck. So what are your cars? So again, the other cars I've had, I had a Pontiac Grand Am. I had an Oldsmobile Cutlass when I worked at Enterprise Rent-A-Car before I started working for the firm. Enterprise Rent-A-Car, you could buy their cars that they would rent. You still can, I think. But I bought a newish car. That would have been like 2000. I graduated college in 2000, so that would have been like 2001. And an Oldsmobile Cutlass isn't like what the Cutlass you're thinking. It's not the cool ones. It's the 4-door sedan. I threw a mountain bike rack or a bike rack on that, and I used to bring that everywhere. Then I got into I made $30,000 when I started at the firm. So I was able to buy an actual new car. I'd never owned a new car until I was like 26, 27, something like that, which is reasonable. Excuse me. But the thing was that I bought a Scion TC. Do you guys know what that is? Go Google it. They made them in like 2003, 4, something like that. I don't remember what year it was. Maybe a 2005. I think it might have been a 2005. But that was a fun little sports car, man. I remember bombing up. My mom lived in Payson, Arizona, so there was a fun little road that goes from Phoenix over up into Payson, Arizona. Driving up that, in a little 5-speed 4-banger sports-ish car. It wasn't really a sport car. I do remember having to buy a fucking tire after like having it for 2 weeks. Those things, little Scion TC had Z-rated tires. If you're familiar with Z-rated tires, they're like the ultra performance tires. No idea why they had those on there. Super low profile. It was a fun car. I had that for a few years. Then I started getting into trucks and Tacomas specifically. And back that Scion TC was maybe like 26,000, 25,000. I don't even know if it was that much. But cars weren't that expensive. I don't feel like they were back then. So for you guys going out and buying a new car, I absolutely feel the pain. Maybe not in my wallet as much as a younger person does, but I it took a big chunk of my check every month. But so I got into Tacomas because I was like, I need a pickup truck. I need to start driving this. We're going snowboarding. We're going up to Flagstaff. We're going out to the beach out in California, visiting friends. This is back when California was still, well, Southern California is still cool. But you know what I'm saying. So I got a 2006 or 2007 Toyota Tacoma, all black, jump seat, access cab, 2-wheel drive. Made a mistake. Don't do the 2-wheel drives. Not if you live anywhere you need a 4-wheel drive. Went up to Snowbowl and Flagstaff. Wasn't allowed to go up the mountain because I had a 2-wheel drive. It was either 4-wheel because they were getting blasted with snow, 4-wheel or chains. No, didn't work. So immediately sold that back to Toyota. Got a 4-door or a 4-wheel drive access cab. Then realized, okay, so that was great for a short bit. And then realized, holy shit, I should have gotten the 4-door. By that time, we were in Colorado and we had dogs. And couldn't fit the dogs. We had two big dogs. I think we had 2 big dogs at that point. Nonetheless, it kept getting bigger and bigger. So then I got my ultimate off-road lifted Tacoma. And that truck was badass. Put a cap on it, did all of those sorts of things. Took that, traded it in, got a Jeep Rubicon, and tricked the shit out of that thing. All of these cars were in the 30s at that point. All the trucks and everything at that point. I was at the dealership the other day, last week, and I looked at a Toyota Tacoma off-road, and it was every bit of $70,000. And you're like, what in the actual fuck? $70,000 loan. Even if you didn't put anything down, you're looking at over $1,000 a month payment. It's insane. And then you can't get your hands on used ones because everybody's holding on to the Tacomas. Those are just vehicles that, are kind of everyday, right? Like you see Tacomas everywhere. I had an F-150. That was a great vehicle. That thing, I needed it for the tow package on it. Didn't do a lot of homework. Probably shouldn't have, but it was like the Lariat. And then I finally now have the 2025 or 2024 Tundra TRD Pro, which is insane. And like I said, they're not cheap, man. And that thing was a lot. $85,000 for a car, for a truck payment, or for a truck. And that's sticker, right? And of course the dealership there's no deals to be done on the TRD Pros because they're special. They're special vehicles. It's ridiculous, right? To go and spend that much, but you're like, all right, what else do? You can buy a used vehicle, which is totally fine. Like I said, I did that for years and years and years. Had a lot of different vehicles. What kind of car are you looking to get into? So I've had a sedan. We've had Jeeps, kind of a SUV. I mean, it's an SUV, but it's not like a CRV or whatever the other types that are out there. Sports car. You into sports cars? Because those are through the roof too. It was kind of crazy. Are you an eco-friendly car type of person? What I mean by eco-friendly is you buying a Tesla, because I did see somebody compare to a BMW. This is, of course, the top of the line ones. And it was just a video or something like that. But they did a study, or not a study, a comparison, like where you can go to like Auto Trader or Kelley Blue Book or something like that and compare them. And a BMW, this was the Plaid, a Tesla Plaid, which is like their top of the line, versus a BMW M5. I think those are like the comparable as far as like performance. Tesla's going to beat it off the road, or, off the start and all that. But you know what I'm saying? Each car costs $140,000 to start. The Tesla resale, or like to go out, and if you were to buy one after like 4 years or 3 years or whatever, it was 40 grand. Whereas the BMW was still 138. So if you were to go down models like to a Tesla 3 or whatever they are versus the BMW 3 series, you need to do some homework and say, all right, what's the residual value going to be on those vehicles, right? Because there's the dealerships can actually tell you like what do they think they're going to be able to give you back on this. You can do homework on them. You can go out, like I said, go out to Kelley Blue Book, do all of that. And what I mean by eco-friendly also is not just all electric, but you have hybrids. So my truck is considered a hybrid. My TRD Pro, it's got a battery pack in it, right? So I drive, if I'm in the neighborhood or just kind of going slow, going to check the mail, I don't know, whatever, just kind of going pretty slow. It's all electric. Like you hear it going, zzz, and as soon as you give it a little gas to it, engine kicks on and it's got that 435, 440 horsepower, whatever. My wife's just bought the Land Cruiser, Toyota Land Cruiser, and it's the same. It has the electric motor, battery pack, all of that stuff. I think that's just a very much the Toyota way to go versus trying to do the all electric thing. I'm not a big all electric dude. I never will be. I think they're kind of bullshit. I need to know that I have 450 miles in my gas tank if I need 450 miles in my gas tank or whatever it is, right? I'm doing road trips. I got kids. I don't have kids. I got my fur babies in there. You know what I'm saying, right? You got kids. You going to trust that thing? You going to go park that bitch in a parking lot in the middle of nowhere and hope the fucking charger works? I've always been hesitant about that. This is not the way. Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't think it is. Fuck that. It's just too much, right? Other things you need to think about. We've financed, like done the loans, and then we've also leased. Leasing, nothing wrong with that, especially to get you started, right? Get you a solid car, 3 years, whole warranty, bumper to bumper, brings the note down, but generally you don't get a lot of equity out of it. So that's kind of something you have to think about, right? What is your absolute dream car? So I've got a buddy, my neighbor across the street. He's done this thing, and he's older, and he's kind of at retirement age, but he did this thing where he started he bought a cheaper, I'll call it cheaper, but an older Corvette. Sat on it for a while, and it was in great shape. Then he sold that and bought another one. And he kind of went up a model, right? Sat on that and eventually paid that off. Then he was able to buy another car. And he's had like 4 Corvettes. But then he bought 2 years ago, he bought a Mustang 350 GT, like the fancy super duper one. What the hell's that dude's name? You know, the famous dude that does the whatever. Shelby. Bought the Shelby one. Took both of those cars just recently and traded them in for the brand new 2025 Z06, I believe it is. The Corvette Z06. Now, if Corvettes aren't your thing, that's totally fine. If that's not your supercar, if that's not what you're looking to get into, totally cool. Understand that. But he's like a Corvette dude. That's like his fucking thing, right? Anyway, I work from home. I've got an office right kind of down the hall over here. And I can hear that fucking thing start up in his garage on the other side of my house. And he's on the other side of the street. It's insane. But he did that over time. And you can do that with less expensive cars. Take one car, wait, especially in this market, or maybe not in this market. You know what I'm saying? Like just over time, kind of gradually sell up and put your residual towards that, right? It's an interesting thing to think about when you can do that. I don't know. My dream car, so my brother Chris, long time ago, had this car that my parents bought him. Or I think he bought it, but it totally didn't fit his personality and my kind of way of looking at it. So my brother Chris was kind of football guy, went to a magnet school because of because of his brain. He was a very smart dude, much smarter than I am. Was in the band, did all of the things. Well, in 1989, unfortunately, he passed away, but in a car accident, not in this car, but in a separate thing. And he had this car. There was a 1974 Volkswagen Carmen Ghia, and it was like a Wolfsburg edition. Now, I don't know what the Wolfsburg edition exactly was, but that vehicle right there it still is a rear wheel drive, like tiny engine. The front of it is basically like, they call it a poor man's Porsche, right? Because it kind of styled after a Porsche. Right? Oh, I had a Porsche as well, and a used Boxster, a 2001 Boxster for about 6 months, and I was like, I'm never driving it, selling it. Nonetheless, this is my dream car. Like, this would be a garage car. This is a summertime or maybe a springtime car. It's too hot here. They don't have air conditioning, right? But unfortunately, my dad had to sell it so he could get another vehicle that had heat. Because back in the day, they didn't have a lot of money. So it was kind of one of those things. But nonetheless, those things are going for like 10, 15 grand now. I think my brother bought his for a couple of $1,000s back in the late 80s, mid to late 80s. And I remember he hit some ice or snow living in North Carolina and banged in the whole front end. And he back in the day where, do you remember, well, some of you will, some of you won't. There was auto body shop, like classes you could take at the high schools. And he was taking one of those and he fixed it himself and bondoed it and pulled it all out and did everything himself. But it was in great shape and it was this canary yellow color exactly. So that is my dream car. It doesn't have to be a supercar. My truck might be yours. Mustang might be yours. Who knows, right? It may be an older Porsche. It could be just to have a brand new car. Totally cool, right? Do your homework on those things. Save your money. Get what you want, especially nowadays, because that fucking interest rates and everything else are crazy. You only live once, right? You're going to be putting your money towards something, and you need something reliable, number one. Like having an extra car, yeah, that's a bonus. But when you get older, you get to my advanced age, seeing something like that, it's kind of cool. But can't take any of this shit to the grave anyway. So leave your comments. Let me know what you guys think. What would you do? What are you interested in? I really am interested to know kind of what you guys think. So with that, go out and subscribe to Just Greg. Go out and follow The Bars Open with Beth and Greg. You can check us out on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook Live, all the different places you could actually look. Rumble is another place that we started posting stuff to. So with that, cheers, you guys. Have a great one, and I'll see you next time.